Hey, so me and this dude have been best friends since we were kids. I'm Alan. I write graphic novels for a living. That's Victor. He does TV and film production. We're finally making a feature-length film together, and we're inviting you to join us. This is Making Our First Movie. Two young activists must choose between violence and peace to bring down the corrupt politician responsible for the death of their childhood friend. All right, man, so we've been talking about just all the steps in making this movie and all the things that have kind of come together. So this episode, we promised to give people some tips for plotting a great story. And I remember when we sat down to like really get down to the writing, I was like, yo, man, there is a structure to stories, and you had some resistance against it.
I'm glad you made us sit down and really get basically the bones of it, like the skeleton of it going, because you kind of broke down to me, hey, look, I understand you're creative, understand, where you want to go with it, but if we don't have a map, we're going to get lost.
Yeah.
You were right.
Yeah, that's
You're
a
right.
tricky thing with art as a whole, right? Because it comes from our souls, so it feels like any type of structure on it is it feels like restrictive.
Right.
All right, well, I'm gonna run down these tips for people. Okay, so tip number one: every story is a journey from beginning to end. So a character starts in one place, they end up in another place. They start out rich, they end up poor. They start out in love, they end up lonely, and whatever are the obstacles in between the beginning and the end, that is what your story is.
Yeah.
All right, number two, the best stories involve external goals and internal goals. So external goals would be like you're in a Michael Bay movie or something, and we have to track down the evil arms dealer before he blows up the city. We have to find his location. That's the external goal. The internal goal will be something with the character's heart, disposition, they've never felt a part of a family. But now this team that they're working with to catch the bad guy, suddenly they feel like they are accepted and they found their place. That's the internal goal, is to find their place. And when you have both external and internal for characters, then it makes the movie engaging on both of those realms.
But I mean, that's real life. Anybody in life right now, everybody
Right.
is dealing with some sort of internal, whatever it is, struggle.
Yeah.
And we're all going through a journey in life externally.
Yeah, and one of the cool things too is when you know what your character's internal goals are, then if you have two characters who have different goals, those goals determine whether they fight each other, whether they work together, whether they work together for part of the time and then split ways. Like when you're clear about those goals, it helps you define how the characters interact with each other.
Right. True. Very true.
Right on.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess that was number three. when you know what your main character's goals are, that's how you get conflicts and partnerships. So a lot of times, you'll have these characters sort of in this world that you've created, but they're just existing. They don't have anything. They're just there. But when you are very clear about what their external goals and internal goals are, they actually might be different. They might have different internal goals, but have the same external goal. But the thing that's happening internally will determine how far they go down the road to fulfill that external goal.
Yep. Conflict is always good. Conflict
Yeah.
is always good. Yeah.
Number four, remember the Bechdel test. So I graduated from this college, Simon's Rock College, when I was 19. Also, Alison Bechdel, comics creator, she graduated from Simon's Rock years before I went. And she wrote this comic that basically said she had two women characters, and one of them said they don't watch a movie unless it fulfills three requirements: that it has at least two women characters, that they talk to each other, and that they are not talking about a male character. Or so talking about something besides a male character. Those three simple guidelines, it's amazing how many movies fail that test for women characters. It can also be applied to characters of color or just whatever group that you're trying to make sure that you're giving some fair representation to. The Bechdel test is a really handy guide, and you can just Google it if you want to read the actual comic. I think it was like a 3-panel comic. But I think I even read that Sweden instituted the Bechdel test into their movies rating system. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And you obviously did in this movie, because in a previous episode we talked about the main female character Emmy and how we made her her own character and she had her
Right.
own agenda, which I loved. And we talked about it already. I won't get back into that, but this is just to piggyback off of what you just said.
Yeah.
On this step, this was definitely you definitely applied it to this script, and I think it worked well.
All right. Number 5. A well-written character is more than just one thing. They have more than one attribute. They're not just a noble person or a funny person. Or, like if you look into some older stories and movies, you'll find characters who are defined by physical traits like their weight or race or gender or whatever. But a well-written character is more than just one thing. They have to have some type of complexity to them.
Right. Right.
Number 6, a ticking clock is important. So there are movies that don't use it, like you have like experimental student films or French movies or whatever. But a ticking clock is really good. It's a good tool for building drama. So basically, it's why do these characters have to do this thing now? Why can't they do it 5 years from now? Sometimes the characters know about the ticking clock. Sometimes they don't. What's important is that the audience knows about it because it adds just a lot more push and drama to things.
Two movies that I think of that are two of my favorites, going to 60 Seconds and
Yeah.
Speed. I mean, those were obvious.
Literal ticking clocks. Okay, so number 7, every scene needs to be pushing either the plot or the character development forward. So if you have a scene that's not doing that, then it really does slow things down. So we either need to be learning more about the characters or the actual story. A lot of times, as writers, we have this thing where we just fall in love with this scene and we want it in there. But if it's not helping the movie, if it's not helping move the story forward, take that mug out.
Completely. Look, I could on the visual end, I could relate to that because I know DPs, editors, directors, in particular DPs.
Yeah.
They fall in love with the look, and I get it because as a visual person, it's like, man, I have to have this scene because it looks great. I mean, I've cut movies, edited movies, and we've gotten rid of 4 or 5 scenes, a good
Right.
30-minute chunk gone, and when it's all said and done, you don't even miss it.
Okay, so the number 8, outline the story before you write it. Now, this was the thing that you had some resistance against.
I hated that, but oh my God, I hated it. But
Yeah.
but I gave you pushback. I gave you pushback. But go ahead.
Right. But the thing is, like, in terms of trying to balance the story and figure out all of the different things, like the characters' motivations, the plot, all the things that are coming together, in terms to make all those things work, it's so much easier to do that when you have bullet points. Because then you can say,
Absolutely.
this scene works here, let me move it here. Oh, well, he believes in this, she doesn't believe in this, let me move that around. And it helps it all come together in a lot better way. But if you're trying to do that while you're writing, like hundreds of words,
Yeah, no.
dialogue, it's overwhelming. I can't do it,
I thought I could, but no.
And there's some people who write novels that way, right? Like they just sit down and go. But I do think it is not the best thing for a film.
Yeah.
So that's the 8, and then here's a little bonus one: show, don't tell.
Yes.
So
Yes.
especially since we're dealing with the visual medium in film, you have so much opportunity to use people's eyes to tell them aspects of things or what's going on, rather than having somebody say it, right? So if you watch, say, like a young, like an emotional drama geared towards 20-somethings, there's a lot of characters being like, well, I didn't want to go outside because it made me think about the time that my dad, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And so they're telling all their feelings.
Yeah.
But when you watch something like a Breaking Bad or The Wire, or think about it, even in real life, people are not usually telling you all their feelings. They're not even always aware. So the
Right.
more you can show it and not have somebody say it, the more powerful it is for the audience.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
those are
agree. It's a
my
huge difference. I mean,
yeah. But those are my 8 tips plus a bonus. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, definitely helpful. Shoot, I know I learned a whole lot doing this with you. I mean, I knew stuff before, but I learned a whole lot sitting with you doing this. So yeah.
yeah, well, likewise, man. Oh, and one more tip. I think if you decide to make any kind of videos to teach people how to make movies or like your process, it's important that you have good T-shirts. So this one is a communist party.
Party.
Nice.
Okay. Right. There we go.
Cool.
Lord have mercy.
Next week, me and Victor discuss what it means to talk about issues of faith in our script.